Welcome back to the Personal Finance Podcast. Today, we're diving into the world of real estate, specifically how to buy your first rental property. And honestly, who hasn't dreamt of being a landlord, right? But beyond just saying passive income, we're going deep on the strategies to make it actually profitable.
You said it, passive can be misleading. It's really more about building long-term wealth, in a way that your 9 to 5 might not. Imagine your money working for you 24/7, like in the form of bricks and mortar.
Okay, sold. But, why should someone become a landlord in the first place?
It's like this. Rental income, it's tied to the property. As that property gets more valuable over time, you're building equity. So you're not just making money from rent, you're building a valuable asset you can leverage later on for bigger investments.
So it's about the long game, not just today's cash, but setting yourself up for the future.
Exactly. But finding the right property, the one that's going to be your little income superstar, that's the real challenge.
Right. It's not as easy as snapping your fingers and saying, beach condo, please. Although, a girl can dream. So how do we actually do this? What are the first steps?
Before you get to those beaches, remember, location, location, location. But I'm not talking about where you'd live. A desirable rental location, that's different.
Okay, so ditch the dream home Pinterest board. Think like an investor. What makes a location good for rentals then?
You want strong rental demand, a healthy job market, good schools, especially if you're aiming for families, and definitely proximity to cool stuff, things that'll attract renters. Also, look at areas where rent increases are higher than average. That suggests good future demand and returns.
So finding the sweet spot where people want to be, that's key.
Exactly. And that beach condo might seem tempting, but it's not just about any property. It's about choosing the right type.
Oh, right. We've got options. Single family, multifamily, maybe even that fix-upper down the street. How do we even choose?
Each has its own pros and cons, especially for a first-timer. Single-family homes are usually simpler to manage. Multifamily units, they can bring in more money, but often need more of your attention. That beach condo, sure, it's glamorous. But factor in things like, is it only popular certain times of year? What kind of tenant would it attract? Could it have higher maintenance costs? Think long-term, sustainability and return on investment.
This is a lot to think about, more than I even realized before we started.
And one of the biggest mistakes new landlords make, underestimating the hidden costs.
Okay, so going beyond the down payment and mortgage, right? What else?
Maintenance. A leaky roof or a busted pipe will drain your profits fast. Factoring in those potential costs before you buy, that can be the difference between an asset making you money and one that's just a drain.
So it's like a financial safety net for your investment. But how much should we actually be setting aside?
A good rule of thumb is 1% to 2% of your rental income each month. That goes into a dedicated maintenance fund. This way, even if nothing major breaks, you've got a buffer.
Smart. Better safe than sorry, especially with such a big investment. Speaking of which, what about mortgages? Do I need a separate one for a rental?
Oh, absolutely. Financing a rental property is a whole different game. Lenders see it as riskier, so you might see higher interest rates and need a larger down payment, usually around 20%.
Okay, good to know upfront. But let's break it down a bit. Conventional loans, government-backed loans, it's all a bit fuzzy to me. Can you clear that up?
Of course, it's about finding the right loan for you. Conventional loans are good if you've got good credit and that 20% down payment ready. But if you're a first-time buyer or maybe have a lower credit score, don't worry. Government-backed loans like FHA or VA loans are made for situations like that.
So it's not just about the loan itself, but who it's actually designed to help.
Yes, and for our veterans listening, VA loans can even offer zero down payment options. That can be huge for first-time landlords. It's about making homeownership and building wealth through real estate open to everyone.
Wow, zero down. That's amazing. So let's say we found the property, got the financing, feels like we're ready to hand over keys. But there's got to be more to this landlord thing, right? What happens once you actually become one?
That's when the real work and rewards begin. It's about creating systems so that passive income actually is passive. And it all starts with finding the right tenants.
There's more to it than just fresh paint and calling it a day. Tell me more about this tenant vetting process.
It's way more than just a background check, though that's important, of course. Tenant vetting is about finding someone who's a good fit, minimizing your risk as a landlord. Think of it like matchmaking, but for your property.
Matchmaking for properties, I love it. So we're looking at more than just a credit score then.
Definitely. We're digging into their employment history, rental history, even their lifestyle. Do they have pets? Are they known for throwing huge parties, early bird or night owl? Might seem like small details, but they can really impact your experience as a landlord. It's about finding someone whose lifestyle matches the property to minimize potential problems.
So let's say we found our perfect tenant, they've signed. Everyone's happy. Then, disaster. A pipe bursts, the garbage disposal breaks, or the washing machine just quits. What happens then? I'm somewhat handy, but not tackling major repairs. Do we always call a professional?
Great question. The answer, like most things in real estate, is it depends. Minor things like a clogged sink, maybe tighten a doorknob, you can probably handle yourself and save some money. But bigger issues like electrical or serious plumbing, better call the pros.
Right, makes sense. I'd rather not cause more damage by trying to DIY it. So what's the best approach for a new landlord when it comes to maintenance?
Balance and preparation. Having that maintenance fund we talked about earlier gives you flexibility. You can call in the experts without stressing about it. And honestly, regular property inspections can help you catch small problems before they become big ones. Be proactive, protect your investment.
So we're not just landlords. We're becoming amateur plumbers, electricians, and negotiators all in one. It's a lot more than just collecting rent.
It definitely is. But the rewards of being a successful landlord, they're worth it, trust me.
This has been so helpful already. We've covered so much, from finding the right place to financing to even dealing with tenants. But we're just getting started, right?
You got it. Next up, we're diving even deeper into strategies to make the most of your rental property. We're talking setting the right rent, attracting those perfect tenants, and turning your investment into a real cash-flowing machine.
We're back and ready to dive into the nitty-gritty of maximizing profits as a landlord. I'm all ears.
Let's talk rent. Setting the right price can be a delicate dance.
It's got to be more than just throwing a dart at a board and hoping for the best, right?
Definitely not. Too high, and you scare away potential tenants. Your property sits empty, you're not making any money, too low, and you're basically shortchanging yourself, leaving money on the table.
So how do we find that sweet spot? What's the magic formula?
It starts with market research. It's like being a detective. You need to look at similar properties in your area. Similar size, amenities, location, see what they're renting for. Websites are helpful for this, apps, even just talking to local real estate agents.
So staying informed, understanding what's going on in your area is key.
Exactly. And don't forget, rental rates, they can change. Seasonality, demand, even just what the local economy is doing. Staying on top of those trends, that's how you maximize your returns.
Got it. It's not a set it and forget it kind of deal. We need to be ready to adapt. Now let's talk upgrades. I'm picturing those home renovation shows, with marble countertops and jacuzzi tubs. Should I be putting those in my rental?
Pump the brakes. Those high-end finishes, they might appeal to you, but for a rental property, they're not always the most practical or profitable. Remember, we want to attract tenants and make a good return on our investment. So think like a renter, not a homeowner.
Okay, so what's a renter actually looking for when they walk in the door?
Think practical and appealing. Fresh paint is always a winner. Brightens up the space, makes it feel clean, inviting. Plus, it's relatively cheap to do. Energy-efficient appliances are another good one. They can save you money on those utility bills. And a lot of tenants these days, they care about being eco-friendly. And never underestimate good lighting. It can totally change how a place feels.
Those are all great tips, but they seem, I don't know, kind of standard. How do I make my property really stand out, in a competitive market? Create that wow factor that makes someone choose mine over the place down the street.
That's where you get to be creative. Think about who your ideal tenant is and cater to them. Are you near college? High-speed internet, maybe a little study nook. Those could be big draws for students. Trying to attract young professionals, maybe a pet-friendly policy, in-unit laundry, or even a shared rooftop space for hanging out.
It's all about those extra perks, going above and beyond for your tenants.
Absolutely. Happy tenants, they tend to stay longer. That means less vacancy, less turnover, which saves you money in the long run. It's about building a good relationship. They feel valued, you benefit, everyone wins.
Makes sense. Long-term tenants, consistent cash flow, fewer headaches for me. It's a no-brainer. Okay, so we've talked about finding the right property, getting financing, setting the rent, attracting those dream tenants. But let's be real, even dream tenants can have a leaky faucet or a fuse box that decides to call it quits. So let's talk about maintenance.
Maintenance. The not-so-glamorous side of being a landlord. But trust me, having a good plan for this will save you so much hassle in the long run.
So how do we go from dreading maintenance to, conquering it? Give me the secrets.
It's all about being proactive. Regular property inspections, those are like checkups for your property. You can spot small issues before they turn into big, expensive problems. Think of it this way. Fixing a small leak now, that could prevent a burst pipe and a flooded apartment later. It's about protecting your investment.
Regular inspections, got it. But what happens when those maintenance requests do come in? Am I supposed to be learning how to fix everything myself? Or do I call a plumber for every little thing?
That's the big question, right? And the answer, like a lot in real estate, is it depends. If it's something small and you feel comfortable doing it, go for it. You'll save some money, and your tenants might even be impressed with your handyman skills. But anything big, electrical, major plumbing, anything that needs special knowledge or tools, call in the pros.
Safety first, for sure. Plus, I'd rather not accidentally cause more damage. But hiring someone for every little thing can get pricey. How do I find that balance?
It's a learning curve, I won't lie. Start by figuring out what you're good at, what you're comfortable with. Then think about how complicated the repair is, how much it might cost. Sometimes, even just calling a professional for an initial assessment can save you money in the long run, even if you end up doing some of the work yourself.
So, make informed decisions, protect my investment. Got it. Regular inspections, a good toolkit, and a list of reliable contractors on speed dial. But beyond just the actual property, there's this other part of being a landlord I'm curious about. Building relationships with tenants.
That's a great point. It's about way more than just collecting rent and fixing things. Having a good relationship with your tenants makes your life so much easier and more rewarding.
Easier and more rewarding. Tell me more. How do we build these amazing tenant relationships? What's the secret?
It comes down to communication, respect, and being responsive. Be proactive. Give your tenants a clear lease agreement, tell them what you expect up front, and be available if they have questions. When they make a maintenance request, deal with it quickly and professionally, even if it seems like a small issue.
So be approachable, reliable, basically treat them how I'd want to be treated as a renter myself.
Exactly. They're your clients, essentially. Give them a good experience, and that's key to your success as a landlord. A little kindness and understanding go a long way.
This has been incredibly helpful. We've covered so much ground today, from market research and upgrades to vetting tenants and building those lasting relationships. But we've got even more to uncover, right?
That's right. Next time, we're exploring the potential downsides of being a landlord, those unexpected curveballs, and how to handle them like a pro. We'll also talk about emergency funds, legal considerations, and when it might be a good idea to get help from a property manager. Stay tuned.
We're back for the final part of our deep dive into rental properties. We've covered a lot of ground, from finding the perfect place to building those strong tenant relationships. But before we wrap up, let's talk about those unexpected challenges. Because, let's be honest, being a landlord, it's not always smooth sailing, is it?
You're right, it's not always easy. We aim for the ideal. Long-term tenants, easy maintenance, consistent income. But the reality is, unexpected expenses pop up. Challenging situations happen. It's part of the game.
So what kind of curveballs should a new landlord be prepared for? Give me the worst-case scenario so I'm not blindsided.
Surprises. And they often come with a big, fat price tag. We're talking those major repairs you don't expect. Roof decides to leak during the worst possible storm. Plumbing goes haywire, needs a complete do-over. Or even, natural disasters that can cause serious damage. That emergency fund we talked about, that's when it really comes in handy.
Okay, unexpected repairs, got it. But even with a fund, those costs can add up. Anything else? What about those nightmare tenant stories you hear about sometimes?
Dealing with difficult tenants, that's definitely one of the tougher parts of being a landlord. Even if you're really thorough with vetting, you might still run into things. Late rent, damage to the property beyond just normal wear and tear, even legal disputes. It can be stressful, take up your time, and cost you money.
Sounds like the wild card of being a landlord. Never know what you're going to get. So how do we protect ourselves? Is it all about having a super strict lease agreement?
A clear lease agreement that's legally sound, that's definitely important. It spells everything out, protects you, sets those expectations. But also, you've got to understand the laws where you are, document everything, and be ready to handle problems professionally and fairly.
Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to the law. So we've got our emergency fund, our ironclad lease, and we're brushing up on landlord-tenant law, ready to take on the rental world.
You're getting there. But remember, You don't have to do everything yourself. If it feels overwhelming or you just value your time, hiring a property manager can be a good investment.
A property manager. So, like, they handle the day-to-day stuff for my rental.
Exactly. They find tenants, screen them, collect rent, handle maintenance, even deal with those difficult tenant situations. It frees you up, less stress, and you have peace of mind knowing your investment is being taken care of.
That sounds amazing, honestly. Especially for busy people or anyone who wants to be a landlord without all the extra work. This has been incredible. We covered so much. Market trends, financing, tenant relationships, even the unexpected challenges. Really feels like we explored everything about being a successful landlord.
And this is just the beginning. Real estate is always changing, so keep learning, keep adapting, stay informed, trust your gut, and don't be afraid to ask for help from people who've been there, done that.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Owning rental property can be so rewarding, financially and personally. It's about taking control of your financial future, building wealth, even leaving a legacy for your family.
Absolutely. So if you're ready to jump in, remember what we've talked about. Do your research, trust yourself, and don't be afraid to take that leap.
Well said. And that's a wrap on this deep dive into rental properties. Thanks for joining us. For more tips and insights on personal finance, make sure you're following us, and we'll see you next time.